Querida tribu, bienvenido a esta edición de Aldea Financiera. Estamos muy contentos porque nos encontramos en Los Ángeles, transmitiendo desde Diesel Films. Y vamos a hacer una entrevista padrísima con un amigo y un personaje extraordinario. Se llama Joe Huff. Él es autor de un libro que se llama Experiential Billionaire. Y este libro te va a enseñar a cómo vivir una vida mejor, una vida donde acumules experiencias y no te preocupes tanto por el dinero. Él es emprendedor, conferencista internacional, filántropo, consejero de distintas empresas, escritor y una persona que, así como tú y yo, queremos cambiar al mundo. Su libro y bestseller, Experiential Billionaire, ha ayudado a cientos de personas a cambiar el modo de ver la vida y cómo invertimos nuestro tiempo para tener una vida llena de valor y experiencias enriquecedoras. Tiene más de 30 años de experiencia, ha ayudado a decenas de miles de personas alrededor del mundo y además vive lo que predica. Ha estado frente a gorilas, frente a leones y ha buscado tener experiencias enriquecedoras en su vida que hoy por hoy le permiten estar ayudando a los demás a tener esto. Además, a él me hizo favor de presentármelo Alexei, quien es la parte estratégica de Alibaba.com, buen amigo, y que también puedes ver la entrevista aquí en Aldea Financiera. Así que vamos a dar inicio con este programa para que tú puedas disfrutar de la entrevista y le damos la bienvenida a Joe Huff. Joe, thank you for being here in Aldea Financiera.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited also, and I would like to start with a direct question. What it means to be an experiential billionaire?
It's a great question. It's funny because when thank you first of all for that wonderful introduction. I like to start by sharing though it's not about traveling the world or having these crazy wild experiences. Those are things that I love. It's about finding and identifying the things that matter most to you in your life and taking action on those things, because ultimately to have a life that's really rich and rewarding in experiences, which is what we're going to care about most toward the end of our lives, that's something that we all should strive to be doing. And once we understand that the true wealth in our lives it's our experiences and our relationships and the things that we do with our time, which is our most valuable asset. That's what the book is about, and that's what the message is about. But people don't start off. I definitely didn't start off thinking like that. I didn't wake up, one morning as a kid and think, how do I go on and live the most inspired and fulfilling life? So I can give you the short story that I think will be helpful as to how this idea was born.
Sure.
So when I was young, when I was about 18 years old, my father had a near-death experience, and it was really shocking. He was 48 and otherwise healthy, and suddenly wound up, we thought he had a heart attack, but he wound up suddenly on life support. And he actually had heart failure, and he needed a heart transplant. I'll save you the suspense. He actually, after a couple months, was fortunate enough to get a heart transplant. But in that period in between, in those couple months when we were waiting, when he was in the hospital, it gave us all this time perspective to think, wow, we don't have a guarantee on how much time we have to go after our own goals and dreams. And that really changed the trajectory of my life, because that made me rethink about things like fear. It gave me permission to try things and fail. It just gave me this, for lack of a better word, and this is something we use in the book and in most of our messages, urgency. It gave us urgency. It gave me this extreme urgency to use my time. And that led to me doing all kinds of things that I would have never done. I tried to start random companies, and they failed, and some of them didn't work. And then eventually I got to something that did work. And that was this incredible experience that I don't think I ever would have actually been able to get to. And again, I came from a check to check household, so starting a company was the furthest thing from my idea, or as a child, I just thought that was something that people that were inherently wealthy did. But that led to me having this opportunity to build this company. And I did that for about 10 years. And when I finally got to this moment that I was financially successful for the first time, I looked up and realized that I was experientially bankrupt, that my life felt bankrupt because I was spending all my time doing things that I didn't really care about just for the money. And again, to be clear, it's not about money versus experiences. It's about our time being our most valuable asset and making sure that we're investing in our most important goals and dreams.
And this was with your shipping company?
This was a shipping company, which is just about as sexy as it sounds. A warehouse full of boxes and all kinds of things like that. But it was a great business, great company. But at that moment, I got inspired to actually to try to do something different. I thought, if I could build this, why can't I try to figure out, why don't I try to identify what I care about in a bigger way. And I wound up meeting my business partner now. She actually had this idea. She was in the music industry. She saw this video that she shared with me of a girl hearing for the first time. And this was so powerful, like seeing this girl hear for the first time. And she said to me, wouldn't it be cool if we could help somebody hear for the first time? And I thought, that sounds amazing. And this video is just, so moving. So we literally, high-fived. We Googled, on Alibaba, best factories in China. We flew there. We found a factory. We designed some products, and we created the first social enterprise audio brand. So we made headphones and speakers and sold them with the goal of, let's take the proceeds and help give people hearing aids with our proceeds. And, again, this is this crazy dream. And it was only about 8 months later that we found ourselves on the ground. Actually, we built this brand. We launched the product. People liked the story. They liked the product. 8 months later, we're on the ground in Peru in front of an 18-year-old girl putting on hearing aids and helping this girl hear for the very first time. And it was like right around that time that we said, we don't know if we're going to be, Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whatever else, but we're building this life that is so rich in experiences that we felt like we're experiential billionaires. And that was worth more to us than any number in a bank account. Because the truth is, and this is something that I'm sure anyone in finance knows more than most folks, is money comes and goes.
Sure.
You can have, I don't care how much you have, you can lose it all. Your finances, it's a wheel of fortune. It goes up and down.
Life has its ups and downs.
Yeah. But you don't lose your experiences. You don't lose the things that you did, the relationships that you built, those moments. Those are the things that at the end of your life, you're going to go, wow, my life was well lived. I tried to do the things I cared about. And really, that's what being an experiential billionaire means to us.
That's amazing. And now, because all of these, you already mentioned experiences, wealth, and also money. So how do you define now what is wealth, those experiences, and how you can manage the money, the money that you may don't have, or how do you get to manage doesn't having the money to have the experiences? What do you do when you want to have those experiences but you don't have enough money?
So this is a great question. So when we, in writing the book, once we figured out that this was the message that, excuse me, sorry. Once we figured out that this was the message that, we needed to share with the world, this was something that we felt so impassioned about. The first thing we thought was, does everybody know this already? So we actually ran a study of over 20,000 people. And it was just so interesting because the results of the study showed that most people know this. Like 3 out of 4 people put experiences as their top most valuable thing in their life was an experience they had or that they wanted to have. But the reasons that they weren't doing those things or going after those things were all the same. It was all, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't know where to start. And it was so interesting because the things that they listed, they weren't all things like, go on safari or climb Mount Everest. They were things that were attainable. It was like learn a foreign language. It was, I want to visit my family where I grew up. Yeah, I want to go to Italy. Things you could do, you could plan. You just have to start taking steps. And, that was actually, I think the thing that was most interesting was figuring out that the happiness and the joy that we can get from spending our time and our experiences, it doesn't equate to monetary, value. Obviously, the more money you have makes it easier to do things.
Of course.
But you need to start where you are, right? So if like today you don't have any money that's really extra for quote unquote, expensive experiences, there's a lot of free things you can do. You can go out on hikes every day. You can get up and watch the sunrise. You can go and exercise. You can play an instrument. You can, there's so many little things that provide so much joy and value that lead to the bigger things. And that's what happened with me. I'm a perfect example. I actually started a t-shirt company with $300 that lasted 6 months and failed, but it led to me realizing that's the worst thing that's going to happen is if I try something, I get the experiences. In those 6 months that it took to fail, I met a ton of great people and I built business connections and new relationships. And some of those people are still very instrumental in my life today. So it's about taking those small steps where you can.
In the book, you mentioned the treasure map. And I think it's a great tool in order to create or to choose those experiences, because at this moment we have so many choices. If you just browse experiences in your computer, you will find tons of thousands of things to do. How do you choose the right thing to do so you can become more experiential billionaire?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people, once they actually do the exercise, which I'll go over in a second, they actually realize that the life they're living now, they didn't really choose. Maybe it's because their family told them, or maybe they were just in school, or maybe somebody else just kind of suggested, try this thing. And they wind up spending a lot of time on something that they haven't even really thought much about before. But the exercise that brings that all into sharp focus, you actually stop and you think, imagine your doctor called and said, you have 1 year left to live. What are you going to do? What are 10 things that you absolutely insist on doing, or that you'll have so much regret if you don't do? And you write those things down. And when you look at those things, then you have to stop and ask yourself, how many of those things am I actively working on now? And most people, again, we did this massive study. Most people, it was none, maybe one. So these are things that if you had 1 year left to live, you would absolutely be certain to do, but you're not even actively working on now, because we all have this fallacy. We all think we have unlimited time. We think there'll be time tomorrow, quote unquote, someday. And then we just put things off till someday until it's too late. And then we suddenly look up and go, I never acted on these things. I maybe never even took the time to identify these things that I realize now that were either buried or I just never even identified to take action on. So it's a really powerful exercise. And I can share a personal story with my family about how that can make a big difference, if you don't mind.
Of course, please.
Yeah. So the book, my business partner and I decided to write the book a few years ago and, put all of this information. And the book is it's full of actionable tools to give people the urgency.
It's great. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We really wanted to make it something that was actionable. It's so people can overcome fear and what we call someday syndrome to start building and living that more rich and rewarding and inspired and fulfilling life, right? And, we poured our hearts into this book. It took us a couple years to write it. And, like I said, me and my business partner worked on this company for 10 years. Since that moment when we helped that one girl get a hearing aid, we actually have given over 50,000 people hearing aids around the world in over 52 countries.
That's amazing.
We've been able to do all these things. We felt so blessed, and we put this all in the book. And crazy as it might sound and ironic as it might sound, we turn in our book, and a week later, my wife is diagnosed with metastatic stage 3 breast cancer. And we've got a 3-month-old and a 2-year-old boy at the time.
So hard.
Yeah, this is actually 2 years ago this week. 2 years ago yesterday is when she was diagnosed. And it was crazy. My wife, also spare everyone the suspense, after a year of chemotherapy, immunotherapy, double mastectomy, radiation, she's cancer-free. She's doing absolutely great.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
But I like to share that story because when we were going through everything and when we finally found out that the treatment worked and she was cancer free, all these feelings that we felt that were so powerful, but the one feeling that we didn't have was regret about the time we spent before her diagnosis, because we had been really intentional. We had worked hard at figuring out what we wanted to do and taking action to try to do it. And all the things that we tried to do didn't work out, but we had been filling up every moment with meaningful experiences and attempts at our goals and dreams. And that was just proof that, to me, that if you want to have less regrets at the end of your life, whenever that comes, hopefully everyone's 100 or
years
more.
old. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. We all have that idea of us being 100.
Maybe we have to move to the blue zones in the world. I don't know.
Or live like they do. One of those things. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want everyone to have to go through this experience I went through, and my wife and I went through in our family. But I hope the lesson from it can be learned, which is not everyone's going to go through a near-death experience, but we can all live our lives like we don't know, we're not guaranteed that tomorrow. And that makes a big difference, on how you prioritize your time.
When you do all this, sometimes you have regrets on yourself, and those regrets doesn't help you in order to move ahead. And you mentioned that in the book, but also you mentioned not be a chicken. What that means and how you can forgive yourself when you have sometimes regrets in the past.
Yeah, I think giving yourself permission to make mistakes and fail, there's learning to be had from everything you do, right? So I like to say, even when I fall on my face, I'm still moving forward,
Correct.
So I tried. And, even when you maybe things don't work out, you have a new perspective, a new understanding, and a new, relationship with that experience. And so often, I think something that we all forget is so many of our best memories or best learning experiences, or the things that made us strongest and made us grow the most, are the hard moments, the times that things didn't work out. And we thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. When we get to the other side of those things, not only did we get through it, we look back and it just becomes a funny story.
Correct.
It's the worst thing ever. You'll look back and go, remember that, ha, 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 laugh about it, and like how you learned and grew from it. And
yeah, the important is to learn about it.
It's to learn. And it's perspective. If you look around, no matter how, even for us, with my wife going through our treatment, I know there's millions of people that are doing much, much worse than we were. So just being grateful, having gratitude, having perspective. And, if you can approach every day like that, you can get a lot further. Those things don't help, having, excuses and regrets about the past, that doesn't help you grow. So you always just have now and forward to really improve upon.
You're now a worldwide known speaker. How that started? Because you had a very, very experience with a life with a lot of experience, and you have been from bankrupt to have the successful shipping company, and then you're a writer and an author. And now you're also a speaker, and you're still changing the ways you want to change the world and the way you help people. How that happened?
A great question again. I think, really, I love inspiring people to live a more fulfilling and inspiring life. And I think that the best way to do that is to get in front of as many people as possible and share my story. Because if I can do it, again, I barely graduated high school. I literally got kicked out of high school. I never went to college.
That's a very inspiring story from your book. That's very inspiring.
Thank you. And I'm not advocating for everyone to not go to school and not go to college. In my case, it worked out. But my point really is that anyone can make these decisions about their life and start taking action and really create a transformative effect. So for me, a few years ago, I thought, what would really be beneficial to hopefully to the world that I could provide, and that would also be something I would enjoy, that my family would enjoy. And to me, speaking was just an obvious one. I think that, getting in front of people and sharing this message to hopefully inspire others. And then at the same time, I love to travel. I love to see new areas, places, people, cultures. I love building new relationships, and I love having that exposure for my family, for my kids. So seeing all that is a big plus. And then lastly, I would say is public speaking's hard. It's scary. And whenever I see things, there's a whole chapter in the book on fear. Whenever I see things that I'm afraid of, I think that's the direction I should probably take a hard look at, because a lot of the time our fears are really masking our goals, because we put those excuses up why we're not going to do something because we're afraid of it. But a lot of the time, what we want is on the other side of that fear.
That's great. That's awesome. What is in Treasure's map of Joe's at this moment? And have you already played the guitar in front of all the people?
I'll be honest, I'm not doing as well on I do the treasure map, first of all, every year, right at the beginning of the year. I do a new treasure map, and I grade my last year's treasure map. I did pretty good last year. This year, I just did the halfway checkup, and I'm not doing as good as I would like. I'll be honest. It's hard, but I think that there's two ways to look at that. First of all, however you're doing on your goals, that's your accountability, and you can look at that. Halfway through, for instance, like you mentioned, the guitar. I want to play guitar on stage. Full disclaimer, I'm not a great guitarist, so I apologize to whoever sees this. But as far as the steps to get to that, when I look at some of the things that I should have been doing, I haven't done them yet. So the natural reaction a lot of people have is, I'm failing. But I don't think that. I think I have to work twice as hard now. Like I'm still going to get there. So the things that are on the list, though, some of them are, health and wellness related for our family. Some of them are actually speaking related. I want to speak 50 times this year, and I'm less.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm less than halfway, but I think I'll get there still. I want to launch another set of the card decks and get some of the new book worked out. I did stand-up comedy when I was younger, 20 years ago. So I'm actually going to do some comedy again. That's actually
Really?
planned. Yeah. So just trying to do things like that I think will be fun. And really a lot of it too, I'll just add in, people, here's a question I get a lot, and I don't know if you were going to ask this, but a lot of people say, how do you do all this stuff when you have kids?
Oh,
Because
yes.
I've got two small children and a wife, and we don't have help and that kind of stuff. And I tell people, your kids are going to do what you do, not what you say. So if I tell my kids that you got to go after life like it's the most, urgent thing ever, and then they see me put off all my most important goals.
All the day in your computer, your cell
Yeah.
phone, not moving.
Nobody at the end of life goes, I wish I spent 80 hours a week more at my desk, and it's not against work. It's just how you spend your time and work and whatnot. And so I force those things. I force myself to do things, even though there's no time and I'm exhausted. I make sure, because I want my kids and my wife and my friends and my family to see that I'm not going to stop. I'm going to just keep trying to do things no matter what. And hopefully that helps.
And listen, where is it right now, this company that you founded with Bridget, in order to help kids and people around the world? You have amazing stories in the book, by the way. And where is it right now?
Yeah, so we sell audio products. It's speakers, headphones, earbuds, like an Apple type of product. The hard part of that is our competitors are Apple, which I think you probably heard of them before. So,
Just a little bit.
yeah, they may be somebody larger in the space. We do a lot of fun stuff, though. We do a lot of corporate and a lot of collaborations. We actually just did some headphones for a partner for a big Paris Olympics collaboration that we did.
Nice.
But we do a lot of really fun stuff like that with people that want to be a part of this movement for social good. So almost everyone we work with, we partnered, I don't know if you remember in the book or not, but with Delta Airlines and
Yes.
with Chivas and with Google and Spotify and a bunch of really huge brands that just, they got involved because they love the product and they love what we do. So we're still on that same mission. We still fund our charity partner, Star Key Hearing Foundation, who does incredible work around the world. And that's where Listen's at.
All the aldeanos, we call them aldeanos because we are part of this tribe that we want to change our life, change our finance, and change the world. And they are listening. And what will be your advice in order to start? What is the first baby step that someone has to do when they want to be experiential billionaire?
This is my favorite topic, favorite question. The hardest part always is just starting, is having a plan. So the simplest things I can tell everyone and anyone listening is first identify what the things that you want to do. And then pick one of those things, just one of those things, and break it down into the smallest steps possible. So if your idea is you want to go to Italy, say, for instance, what is the very first thing that you need to do that? Maybe it's look up flights and figure out what they cost. Put that step down and put it on your calendar. I'm going to do that today, and actually do that thing to give yourself some momentum. Like you actually started taking steps on that path, because it's all the little steps that add up to that. Literally what I tell people is to take something from impossible to improbable to inevitable. You just have to start with those little tiny steps, and that'll make all the difference. And the other thing that I'll share, and it's funny, I just shared this online the other day, but accountability. Like if I tell you, Roberto, if I say, I want to do this streaming, I want to play my guitar on stage, check in with me in 30 days and see where I'm at with that. That makes a massive difference in us executing our goals. Of course. If we announce it and we tell somebody and we have a date set, that makes us 65% more likely to accomplish a goal. Just having a date and having an accountability partner with a specific date brings it up to 90+% chance that we'll accomplish our goal. I mean, that's a crazy, crazy increase in odds.
Of course, because it helps you to commit more.
Yeah. And you feel like somebody's on your team, they're on your side. So that's it. And I really think, starting with things you can do, because if you pick the big thing and say, well, I can't do that now, so I'm not going to do anything, you're wasting time. Start doing the things you can do while you lead up to the big thing. And then that way, when you get to that thing, you'll have all of the other stuff in between, all the daily joy that you could possibly hope for.
In the book, you mentioned that you made this exercise with people in a storage room. Your funeral.
Yeah.
If I remember fine. What did you learn about that exercise?
It's powerful. I think if everyone could, an exercise you can do to not take it so far where you actually have a fake funeral. And we did it with a grain of salt. We told everybody what we were doing and tried not to make it too serious. But at the same time, if everyone could just imagine writing your own eulogy. Imagine you passed away and you're writing your eulogy about your life now. Do that and then read it and think, is that enough? Is my life what I want it to be at the end? And if it's not, rewrite that eulogy what you want it to be, and then design your life to build to that. And that makes a massive difference too in how you see things. So.
Joe, you mentioned in the book this great story about a fake funeral in a storage room. Can you share with us a little bit more of it, and what do you learn in that moment?
Yeah, I love this question. This is actually really popular in parts of Asia, specifically in Korea and Japan. They do this in some places. That's where we first heard of it. But to actually anyone can do this exercise without actually hosting their own fake funeral. And again, to be clear, we didn't take that so seriously. It was a fun kind of exercise. But you learn a lot because you learn what people think about you, what your life means to other people. But you can actually do this without other people if you really just sit down and write your eulogy now and write down like what you think people would say or what you would say your life was about at your funeral today.
Wow.
And then compare that to what you wish your life was, to what your ideal version of your life would sound like. And if they're very, very far apart, you should write the one for your ideal life and then redesign your life to fit into that, so that at the end of your life, that is
That
your
is
eulogy.
perfect.
You want to make sure you nail that one.
That is great. And this is a financial tribe, but we want to improve. But the question that I want to make you is, what is the learning that you have had in your life and about finance? What is your finance advice that you can give to the tribe?
Yeah, I think that, I think it's hard to advise people to take unnecessary risks and do things that they don't feel comfortable doing financially. At the same time, though, we have to have a balance, right? The wins don't come from not taking risk, right?
Right.
You can be stable, but you'll never actually probably have any of the big wins. Just like in your experiential life, if you play it safe and you say, I'm going to just, do the very bare minimum, toward the end of your life, you're probably going to think, well, my experiential wealth isn't very good. The same thing financially. If you just say, I'm just going to play it extremely safe, you're probably going to be fine, but you're also not going to necessarily have that big win. So I think you've got to really balance that out. And just so everyone again understands, things can change dramatically. I share the story in the book. It's funny, but I lost everything when I was 27, and I had to file for bankruptcy, and I was devastated. I went to the attorney and I said, I lost everything. And the attorney literally said to me, he said, it costs $5,000 to file for bankruptcy. And I thought, great. Now I got to go around telling people, I'd really like to be bankrupt, but I just can't afford it. So yeah, that's things can get really bad, and then you can make millions and millions right after, and those things happen all the time.
And how do you get back after that?
Just the same thing I say about experiences, just taking steps, just looking at the big picture goal and then bringing it all the way back down to every day moving forward, every day moving the needle, because the compound interest from those actions is what will make the difference. If you try to say, I'm going to work on whatever I'm working on, at the end of the month, once a week, once a weekend or whatever, I'm going to try to do a bunch of work one day. It's never going to work. You're not going to get there. You need to take shots every single day. And that's going to add up to so much more and give you so much more of a potential chance to succeed.
That's a great thing, advice. A book that you love the most, a book that you suggest to read. Of course, Experiential Billionaire, but
there's a meditation book that I like called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And I think that's really powerful, because I think a lot of people make excuses for their successes or failures or whatever in their life based on things around and outside themselves. And a lot of people run from problems and, move away and do all kinds of things. And it's really yourself. We need to work on ourselves, because we're always with ourselves. If you don't have a great relationship with yourself, if you don't have belief in yourself, that's where you start. And if you can fix that, if you can make your relationship with yourself and your confidence in yourself here, you can be anywhere. But if your confidence in yourself is down here, everywhere you go, there you are.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. And any final advice or any final story that you want to share?
No, I just really hope people take this advice. And I actually just want to also share that we have all of the exercises from the book are actually free on our website. You can just download them. So if you don't have time to read the whole book, you can actually just start working on the exercises. They're sequential, but they're all totally free downloads, because we just want to give people these tools to help try to start identifying and taking action on things that matter.
That's great. And if people want to buy the book, where they can find it?
Amazon's the best, easiest, fastest way. Our website, you can just get a link from there to Amazon as well.
Perfect. I just want to share with you, and for ending this interview, that your book really moved me, and your book really helped me to move ahead with many stuff. I did the treasure map, I have to say it, and I was doing it, and I was about to start crying in some points. It really moved me, and I have to share that I just planned this family trip with my family in the coming months, that we were like postponing and moving, waiting for the right moment to come. And I just say, no, the right moment is now, and we have to do it. So thank you very much, Joe, for your help, for your book. And I hope you keep on inspiring people, helping people, and achieving your goals.
Thank you so much. And I love that story. Tell me how it all works out. I want to hear about this trip.
I will. And thank you so much for being here in Aldea Financiera.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Gracias a todos por estar en esta edición del programa. Extraordinaria entrevista, como pudieron ver. Denos sus comentarios, ponle like si también te gustó, y por supuesto nos vemos en la siguiente edición. Me despido como siempre, deseándote que tengas un día así, con tendencia positiva. Nos vemos en la próxima.